You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. All right, y'all. LSU hit the practice field for the first time in fall camp. Media was allowed to watch the entire workout. First 15 minutes or so indoors at the indoor practice facility. Then they moved outdoors for the final 45 minutes or so. And we got to see some individual drills where guys are just working with their position group, hitting sleds and doing a lot of things that wouldn't really catch anybody's eye. We did get to see some team period. Some hurry up, no huddle, some 7-on-7, some 11-on-11, both in the 2-minute and in a normal scrimmage type situation. And so I want to run through all that. Probably going to need these first two segments to get through everything, to unpack the whole thing. But let me start by kind of giving you some big picture overview stuff that we noticed. And then I'll get into some of the nuance, top performers, stuff like that as well. Let's hear a lot of what Brian Kelly had to say because Kelly did meet with reporters after practice. So I guess to start, maybe the first thing that's most important to note is that they were really healthy. The only guy that was limited today was Nick Anderson, and Brian Kelly said it afterwards. Nick Anderson was in a car wreck. Wilson Alexander, the Advocate, was the first to report that while we're at SEC Media Days. Nick Anderson was in a car wreck because of the concussion, the protocol of coming back. He had to, I guess they have to sort of like, to clear protocol, he's got to practice without contact. And so they're not really hitting each other anyway. So Nick Anderson didn't participate in the team drills. He did individual work, but not team work today. And then he'll be back tomorrow. The only guy that's injured is Solomon Thomas, the freshman 5-star offensive lineman. When the media availability with Brian Kelly had ended, I went up to him after and asked him, was there anybody else limited? I was trying to get the microphone back, and it didn't come back to me. So he told me that Solomon Thomas broke his 5th metatarsal. Apparently that's a bone in your foot. I didn't know that. I had to look it up. But so he's got a broken bone in his foot. He's out a month, so he'll miss camp and then be back for the start of the season. But if we're being realistic, Solomon Thomas was probably in competition for backup reps. It just means it'll take him a little longer to come along. But we'll get to the offensive line here in just a smidge. So think about all the players coming into this camp that were coming off of injuries. Harold Perkins, full go. Coming off the ACL in a purple defense jersey. So again, if guys are not in contact, they're in red, no contact jerseys. Harold Perkins was in a purple jersey, and by the way, not wearing a knee brace either. Jacoby and Guillory, coming off the ruptured Achilles in his purple jersey, his purple number 90 jersey, working with the D-line, no limitations, no restrictions, doing the whole thing. Jordan Gilbert, who had shoulder surgery after the season, missed spring, was out there running with the safeties, no limitations. They were as healthy as you could possibly imagine. The only guy that has an injury right now that's in any way limited is Solomon Thomas, the freshman offensive lineman, who's going to be out for about a month. So the way they structured practice, initially indoors, they did stretch, they did team, individual periods, and then they went into a team session where it was a hurry up, no huddle. They went outside and did 7-on-7, then some more individual drill, then another team period that we got to see. I'll tell you, let's start with kind of how they lined up, some of those personnel decisions, and then I'll get into some of the individual performers that made big plays and some of that sort of stuff. The most notable thing that happened today, in my opinion, is Brian Kelly acknowledged Braylon Moore as the team's starting center. He talked about it after practice. He gave an update on the offensive line battle. And the most notable thing is that Braylon Moore ran with the ones. Remember, in spring, Braylon Moore and DJ Chester were rotating at center. Braylon Moore is the starting center, and Brian Kelly made that known.
Well, we're still competing for positions. You saw what we did. Braylon Moore moved into the center position. DJ Chester moved to left guard, so you guys can figure that one out. But DJ is going to compete with Paul. And on the right side, Josh is going to compete with Colin Eccles. That's competition. Karis Kern is going to push Tyree. Bordelon's going to push Weston Davis. Those are pretty much, what you should be seeing and, how that will move. There'll be some times that maybe DJ, slides in at center. We got a guy that played 13 games at center. Let's keep him sharp. So I think you'll see some moving around there, but there's competitive battles right now. We have to evaluate them as a group of 5, and then individually, who makes up that best 5.
So the most notable part is if you looked at the second offensive line, Braden Augustus, a walk-on, was running as the second center. And Brian Kelly explained to you why. So Braylon Moore is your starter. Remember, in spring, Moore would run first team, Chester would run second team. They'd flip. It was back, and those guys are playing center. Braylon Moore is your starter at center, and they are trying to get DJ Chester ready to play left guard. So DJ Chester isn't going to take reps with the first team at left guard and then go right back out there with the second team and play center. They're going to get more guys active. Well, Cohen Eccles is the other center. Well, you heard Brian Kelly say it. Cohen Eccles is battling Josh Thompson for the right guard spot. Josh Thompson, the Northwestern transfer, who, boy, he had a couple of rough moments today. We'll tell you about that in a second. But you're not going to have Cohen Eccles playing center with the second team when he's trying to win the guard spot. So he's going with the second team at guard. So, listen, if they get into a game scenario, and God forbid if something were to happen to Braylon Moore, DJ Chester or Cohen Eccles is going to play center. It's not going to be Braden Augustus, but it goes to show you where the emphasis is. Braylon Moore is your center. You've got DJ Chester and Paul Mabenga battling for the left guard spot. Josh Thompson, Cohen Eccles battling for the right guard spot. Tyree and Weston Davis are your tackles, and behind them are Karis Kern and Bo Bordelon. That's what we know as of right now. Those are your 10 best, and those are the guys that are vying for spots right now. So the starting offensive line left to right is exactly what we thought it would be. Adams, Chester, Moore, Thompson, Davis. They ran the veteran receivers were the first ones out there. Aaron Anderson, Chris Hilton, Xavier Thomas. Trey'Dez and Bauer Sharp both took reps with the ones. The first thing they did out there with running the first team offense, Bauer Sharp was the first tight end, but there were times the ones out there and it was Trey'Dez. So we got to see both those guys run a lot. Caden Durham, Garrett Nussmeier were the quarterback running back combo as expected. Your second team offense left to right was Karis Kern, Paul Mabenga, Braden Augustus, we just explained that. Cohen Eccles at right guard, Bo Bordelon at right tackle. Your second team receivers are Berrien Brown, Kyle Parker, and Destin Hill. By the way, Berrien Brown, I'll tell you about the team period in just a second, but he had, whatever Mark Stoops was doing in Lexington to Berrien Brown is coaching malpractice. I cannot believe that guy was so underutilized in Lexington for an offense that was atrocious. Play backyard ball, just snap it to him and let him go see what he can do. That would at least be somewhat effective. Anyway, Caleb Jackson, second team running back. Michael Van Buren, the second team quarterback, as we all know. On defense, Jack Pyburn, Gabe Relaford were the first team ends. Ahmad Bro, who switched to number 16, by the way. So we went from 93 to 16. It takes some getting used to. As I do these camp reports, I always jot down numbers instead of names. And so if you've been with us for a while, there's going to be a good while where I'm just calling out numbers. But Ahmad Bro, Dom McKinley were the starting interior linemen. West and Whit Weeks were at linebacker. Harold Perkins at star. Your first team cornerbacks were Mansour Delane, Ashton Stamps. And then your safeties were Tamarcus Cooley and Jordan Gilbert. Remember, Tamarcus Cooley was at LSU in spring. A.J. Halsey was not. A.J. Halsey, the safety transfer from Houston, came in the spring portal, and so A.J. Halsey and Javen Toviano initially were with the second team defense at safety. Halsey's wearing 13, by the way, and when we're inside, we're up on the catwalk, and so you don't really get a good sense for the size and dimension of these guys. When you're outside, we're field level, standing on the sideline right next to them. A.J. Halsey is a thick dude. That is a dude who we know can turn and run and cover, but my goodness, is he going to be able to help in run defense as well? He is a dude with a thick lower half. Your second defense was Patrick Payton, Jamari Butler at end, Sadir Mitchell, Bernard Gooden at tackle. So, by the way, the four names I just rattled off to you, Peyton, Butler, Mitchell, Gooden, 4 transfers. Devon Keys, Charles Ross were your second-team linebackers. Charles Ross, of course, was a freshman who was in studio with us just about a month or so ago. He looks the part, wearing number 30, 6'2", 230 pounds, fills out the uniform. He looks awesome. Tylen Singleton ran at second-team star. He actually came up with a sack. We'll talk more about Tylen Singleton, but my goodness, that's a guy. They have him listed now. He's wearing 46. They have him at 6'1", 226. I don't know what he was listed as a freshman, and I don't know if that 6'1", 226 is accurate. He looks bigger than that. But Tylen Singleton looks like a guy that from year 1 to year 2 has really transformed his body. Looks very good. And then P.J. Woodland and D.J. Pickett were your cornerbacks with the second team. I mentioned Deshaun Spears. He was the odd man out in that first indoor team period with Cooley and Gilbert running with the first team, Toviano Halsey with the second team. But when they went outside, we saw Spears run both with the ones and the twos. So I think safety, like we talked about, with our sort of big camp storylines, offensive line, safety, probably the 2 biggest camp storylines. Offensive line, there might be some competition. It feels like, barring something dramatically unforeseen, we know how that's going to be, at least for game 1 against Clemson. Safety feels pretty wide open. And this is a starting point, but they got 5 dudes vying for 2 spots, and it wouldn't surprise me at all how it all shaked out with the 5 guys that they have out there vying for those 2 spots. But we'll continue to follow it through. When they went into team periods, y'all, the first team period they ran was indoors, and the offense started at the 10, and it was in every play, no matter the result of the play, they moved the ball 10 yards. So they were running a hurry-up, no huddle, effectively a 2-minute drill. So no matter what happened on the play, they advanced the ball 10 yards. So they were just going right down the field. I'm here to tell you, they didn't need the help. Watching that first series gave me a little bit of a flashback to 2023. Because typically, on the first day, it favors the defense. Offense needs timing and continuity, and there's play call, and there's so much more sequencing and just getting the whole operation together. It's the snap count, it's the effectiveness of the snap, it's the wide receivers running the correct routes, it's the quarterback and receiver having the timing. There's just a lot more that goes into the offense. Defense can play a little more instinctive. So typically, the defense is ahead of the offense. In 2023, I'll never forget it. Watching that first day of fall camp, and I left the practice facility, got my car, and I called into Live at Lunch with Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff. And they wanted a practice report. And I was a little flabbergasted. Be like, guys, I don't think the defense won a rep. And I went back and check your notes, and the offense, it didn't matter. Those receivers were winning every rep. And it was bad. Like, the defense couldn't get a stop. And so we're all wondering, well, is the offense really this good, or is the defense this bad? And the answer was yes. I mean, it ended up being literally the number 1 offense in the country. It was Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. I mean, they were incredible. Mason Taylor, they were awesome. And then, I thought you were trying. Mason Taylor! But then the defense was atrocious as well. On the first series of team drills inside, Caden Durham ran it. They threw a screen pass to Caden Durham. He ran again on a zone read. The 4th play, Xavion Thomas on the left sideline on a stop route, gets about 10 yards. He beats Mansour Delane. Great job coming back to the ball, making a catch in traffic. They ran a middle screen to Bauer Sharp, who was crossing over from right to left. On the 6th play, they're at the 40-yard line, on the plus 40. On the 6th play, Nuss, hard count, defense jumps. He's got a free play. Barry and Brown right side, go route. Burns, Ashton Stamps. Had him beat by 2-3 yards. Nuss drops it in a bucket, touchdown. Brown fires the ball against the padding in the end zone, kind of giving a flex. And I thought to myself immediately, what the hell was Mark Stoops doing with this guy? I mean, that's Ashton Stamps, who's about to be a 3-year starter. Dude, on his first day, is dusting a veteran corner from LSU. I mean, it was something to behold, that first series. It was jarring to see just how effective and efficient the offense right down the field. Then the twos went out there, and the whole script flipped. The second defense overwhelmed the second offense. Tylen Singleton had a sack. Patrick Payton had a sack. They had a a pressure on Van Buren, so he just dropped the ball over the middle, incomplete. He had another throwaway because of pressure. They after 6 plays with Van Buren, they put Colin Hurley in for 2 plays, and on back-to-back plays, he threw balls to defenders that were nearly intercepted. P.J. Woodland dropped an interception when he jumped a screen intended for J.T. Lindsey, and then DJ Pickett dropped an interception on the next play. I didn't jot down who the ball was intended for. Like, the second defense overwhelmed the second offense, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. You look at that second defense and you go, okay, well, there's Patrick Payton, who's played 4 years of football. Jamari Butler, who's a 6th-year senior who spent 5 years in the Big Ten going against true freshman Karius Kern. Like Sadir Mitchell and Bernard Gooden on the interior of that defensive line. You got Woodland and Pickett out there on the boundaries. Toviano and Halsey were your safeties. Halsey was all conference last year in the Big 12. Like, that second defense overwhelmed the second offense, which makes you feel really good about the depth on this defense, because there's good players on that offense. The depth on the defense. So they go outside, and they're running. I guess it maybe should have been like a 7-on-7, but really was a 5-on-7. Later, the offense added another player, so it was 6-on-7. But effectively, the defense had numbers. This is a drill designed to benefit the defense. It's just quarterback and skill guys against linebacker secondary. There's no linemen. Nuss started 7 for 7. It was something to see. He threw a couple of completions to Destin Hill, one over the middle. Destin Hill catches the ball with Ashton Stamps in coverage, and they're both standing. And it was tight coverage, and Stamps is trying to swipe the ball, and Destin Hill just one arm with the ball, one arm like just shoves Ashton Stamps to the ground. Like, I know we're not talking about Destin Hill, but Destin Hill is this year's C.J. Daniels. They love him. He's physical. He can block. He'll catch the ball in traffic. He's not going to be your home run hitter, but he's got great hands. He catches the ball. He's physical. He'll block. Like, Destin Hill's going to play. He's wearing number 2, by the way. Like, Destin Hill is going to play on this team. You might say, why? It's going to happen. Like, people go, why is Destin Hill on the field and not Nick Anderson or Barry and who fill in the amazing receiver? And that's why. They're all going to get reps, but that dude is going to play. Destin Hill also had a one-handed catch on the sideline. Elevated one-handed catch through traffic. It was a really impressive day. And so the offense continues overwhelming the defense. The ones are just dominating. Then they go back to an 11-on-11 period. And it was so encouraging because in this outdoor 11-on-11 period, that defense finally showed up in a major way outdoors. Patrick Payton had a TFL on Caden Durham. Patrick Payton went and worked with the ones in the second unit. Gabe Relaford had a sack. I mentioned earlier Josh Thompson having a little bit of a tough go. On back-to-back plays, Bernard Gooden, the transfer from South Florida, blew through Josh Thompson like a turnstile and got sacks on consecutive plays. Jamari Butler had a sack in this period. What else did I note? Beautiful catch by Kyle Parker with Tamarcus Cooley in coverage. Now, Jamari Butler was pressuring on that play, and he was with the ones in this series as well. Might have been a sack if they were actually tackling. It was close, or at least would have affected the pass if it was live. But in any event, it was a catch by Kyle Parker. The play of the day might have actually been Teron Francis. Teron Francis caught a ball down the left sideline with DJ Pickett draped around him like a freaking octopus. And, I mean, in traffic, and he came up with the ball, oohs and ahs all over the field. And I'm looking at this going, that's incredible coming from a guy who's not going to play a snap this year. That's the biggest takeaway, is how deep they are at receiver. And we've seen great receiving core. Newsflash, LSU has good receivers. But I'm going, I've just told you about Aaron Anderson and Chris Hilton and Xavion Thomas and Barry Brown and Nick Anderson and Destin Hill. Oh, by the way, Bauer Sharp, Trey'Dez Green. That's 8 guys. And I haven't even talked about Kylan Billiot, Jelani Watkins, Kyle Parker, the incumbents. before you get to Francis, who's the number 11 on that list. All that to say, like, I think Teron Francis may be a fantastic receiver. He's just not going to play this year. There's just way too much depth ahead of him at receiver. And it is just really, really impressive. Keelan Moses had a great pass breakup, playing in the star position. Would have been a pick six. He jumped a route, hit him in the face mask. He just didn't catch it. Would have been a pick six on the last play. I will say the one part about maybe if we're looking at the line of scrimmage, some of those sacks and things like that, it is fair. Like, our biggest question is the offensive line, right? And when you're looking at the two deep at end, you're talking about Relaford and Pyburn and Butler and Payton, and they're talented and veteran and really good. But they don't have pads on yet. So I'm going to reserve judgment on the offensive line with some of that stuff until they put on pads. And it is worth noting, when they were indoors, nobody touched us. When they went outdoors, both were 11-on-11 periods. It's just the two 11-on-11 periods we saw. The offense had the upper hand in the first one. The defense had the upper hand in the second one. But we'll know much more about it when they put on pads and we can see more. But it was super encouraging to see. Just think about the names that I've mentioned to you here so far in this report. Berrien Brown, Bernard Gooden, Patrick Payton, Jamari Butler. You noticing a trend? Bauer Sharp. You noticing a trend? They're all transfers. Destin Hill. They're all transfers. I mean, the transfer portal class showed up in a major way on day one to make their presence felt. LSU went invested in great players. And on day one, you could see it. Like, they've got talent on the two deep on both sides of the ball. And this team is going to be really, really, really talented. They got a couple of weeks here of fall camp to put it all together before they turn the page to start getting ready for Clemson in the opener. And Brian Kelly's talked about it. Look, we're in the indoor. I don't know if you've never been in the LSU indoor facility on one of the sidelines. There's a giant screen. It's got to be 20 yards long. It's a giant, giant screen. And on that screen, it just has a gigantic 1-0 with a Tiger logo in the middle. It's just 1-0. 1-0 is what they're preaching everywhere, all along. They're not hiding from it. And today was a good first step. They'll be back on the practice field on Thursday with media availability. No media availability Friday. And then they're back on the practice field again Saturday, and we get to watch the full practice on Saturday. So we'll have practice reports. As long as LSU's out on the field and they let us watch, we'll tell you what we see. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.